When school started here in September, by that point, my job had decided to lay off everybody at our Chicago site where I was working at. They did that just about the beginning of June. And so what that meant was that the structure had really kind of changed, where now I became the full-time provider here for our children and have been looking after all of them while my wife has been working.
My schedule has changed in the sense that I am able to, in some ways, reach more students than I was able to reach before. But I'm grateful for that because I can offer calming tools. I can offer a place if students want to talk. I can do things that can build community. There are different things that I can do to relieve some of the isolation and the stress and bring some joy to the students through these classes.
I'm on the advisory committee at Loyola, where I'm a professor, I feel like it's maybe not an extra job, but it's an extra 50% of a job for sure. So I've had a lot of long days and meetings early in the morning and work to do late into the evening, in addition to everything that I usually do. But this is why I got into public health in the first place, because I was interested in and wanted to help deal with what is a continuing crisis. There tend to be very few public health emergencies of the type that we're experiencing now.
There's times, honestly, where, there is kind of like that mindset and you start to feel somewhat a little bit more of a sad, depressed kind of mood. So it's been a lot of kind of soul searching, looking around, what kind of workforce do I want to kind of go into? How do I keep in old contacts with my former coworkers who really have become a second family after 16 years of being with them, seeing all their children kind of grow up, get married, have their own children, and kind of have to give that all up.
I go back and forth. I mean, in my professional life, I'm very engaged, and this is a very exciting time. But it also comes with huge personal tragedies in those around me. I've heard many stories about family members who've died or gotten very ill from COVID. Several of my colleagues have gotten COVID. The first person I knew who died was a colleague who is in Africa. So he's from Ghana, and he was one of the professors at the medical school in Kumasi at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and he's been a long-standing partner with our program at Loyola, and he got COVID and died very early on in the epidemic.
Anxiety is an energy that can get stuck in the body. Anxiety is all about the future. Depression is about the past. And COVID is, the pandemic is all about the future. Am I going to get sick? Are my loved ones going to get sick?
I just kind of take, again, the bad and try to put a positive look on it, and try to be very hopeful for the future and just enjoy the moment here for right now.
Ultimately, the end of this epidemic is going to come in the form of a vaccine. So that's where we need to work with others. But I would encourage all of you and all students at TCS and all students everywhere to look into public health as an alternative when you're getting ready to apply for colleges.
I think it is so important that we recognize this is a time of hardship, that there is no shame in reaching out to others. There is no shame in reaching out to a professional like myself. That this is a time where we are required to keep our distance, and yet for many of us, the way to find balance is in communication with others.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We playing cards with them? Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, actually, we were only half e-learning. Basically how it was the entire class would be at school in the morning, and then at 12 we would have lunch, then switch to e-learning, which was pretty easy. But then when the coronavirus cases went up, we did full e-learning, which we are now doing. On Fridays, we go to Bemis Woods, which was originally the morning would be at Bemis Woods, and the afternoon would be e-learning, just normal classes. But then because of full e-learning, now we go to Bemis Woods for the whole day.
In the kindergarten class, because we believe that children need to interact and be closer together than the 6 feet suggestion, that's why we're being outside most of the time, and we want them to be able to play together so they know that if they touch an object, for example, if they touch the clay table, before they go to the clay table, they hand sanitize, and when they're finished, they hand sanitize before they move on to the next thing, and they do it without us reminding them. They've become great at that.
The transition, very quick. It was very tough. Actually, you know what? The transition, okay, well, it's weird because for me, the transition, I don't want to say it was smooth because it really wasn't, right? But it kind of was just like, it was a weekend, right? And then it was like done, right? Like it was like we were out. Like we were supposed to be gone for like 2 weeks, right? So really, it was Saturday every day up until the last day in the semester when I had to do all of my work. That was like, that wasn't cool. But up until then, it was Saturday every day.
I mean, I think if you look at all the grades, I think probably middle school and high school would be the easiest to teach remotely. I think it'd be very hard to teach elementary school, especially the young kids. I've got 2 kids at TCS, and one of them is in 1st grade. I think that'd be really, really hard for him to do that. So I think high school is pretty independent. So the biggest challenge is my inability to hear kids sing. We can't sing on Zoom together. It doesn't work. The only way that would work is if everybody was hardwired in, and that's just not practical. So I can only hear my students sing when they submit recordings. And, another challenge is that I really thrive on being able to speak with my students, like to talk one-on-one. And I'm not getting that. I do get to see students at the end of class. A lot of times I'll ask kids to stick around if I've got to ask them questions, but I miss that sort of dialogue as kids are coming in and leaving the classroom. That's probably the thing I miss the most.
I'm not learning. I literally just do work to get grades and then move on to the next thing because they give me a lot of homework and I'm just trying to pass my classes. So I don't learn.
Cold and wind, we are trying to be outside most of our day, and today was a good example of the wind and the cold got in our way. Our hands were really cold, and so we had to go inside a little bit.
Some things that are hard with online school are usually finding all of the assignments and getting to class on time, because sometimes you might not find the link, or your internet's being weird or something like that.
I felt probably a lot of ups and downs like most people.
It's had its up and down.
Sometimes I maybe feel a little sad because I can't see all of my own personal children.
School's tough. I'm failing a couple classes. I feel very isolated, and I miss my friends.
But I feel great joy being with the 10 Pride of Lying children, so I feel very lucky to be in person with my class every day.
It's okay, you know, it's good. We'll be okay.
We own the Book Table, which is a independent bookstore in downtown Oak Park. We sell a wide variety of books of all kinds at discounted prices.
I mean, as you can see, I run a Grape restaurant. That's my business. Right now, I'm the cook. I am the server. I am the cashier. Especially with the epidemics, now we're obligated to run the business from A to Z.
So my name is Liz Holt. So I'm the executive director at the Oak Park and River Forest Chamber of Commerce. So we represent two communities, Oak Park and River Forest. And the chamber is, and this is the same for chambers all over the country and almost all over the world, is we are a member-based organization that supports and promotes and advocates for small businesses in our community.
Well, like every other business, we lost a lot. We could say more than 50% because we don't have the customers like we used to have before.
The first shelter-in-place order happened, I believe, March 21st, and we had to actually shut down our store for 6 full weeks. We weren't allowed inside, and our staff wasn't allowed inside. And so we actually took what is a physical bookstore and for 6 weeks ran it from our couch at home as an internet business.
To have such an abrupt shutdown where people one day were, you know, their business was open and thriving, and the very next day it was completely closed, was a really big shock for our business owners.
We cannot afford the staff that we had before, so because we cannot pay them, so basically we put in more hours now than ever before. We do it all from A to Z.
We were at home. We were only allowed to go into our store ourselves only once per day to pick up some things and do a little bit of shipping. And since then, we've been very focused on safety, limiting the number of people that are in our store, making sure that they're wearing their masks, more importantly, making sure that they're wearing their masks properly, working on social distancing in the store, and doing a lot of cleaning.
You know, before even you open your business, you have to spend so much money in equipment, masks, gloves, that we never had to do before. Of course, we had gloves, but we never had to buy sanitizers and all the chemicals that we have to clean with right now.
Well, right since the beginning, it's getting them information. So, you know, if a business is just focused on what they're trying to do to survive, get people in the door or order their products, you know, they're not necessarily across all of the information that they need to know about how to apply for, you know, funding from the, you know, the federal government, how to keep their staff safe. What are cleaning and sanitation protocols? I mean, things have got just so complicated and complex since March.
Has the pandemic made anything easier?
Absolutely nothing. It's making it even harder.
No. There's literally nothing that is easier. The only The only good part was when we were able to listen to our favorite music when we didn't allow customers in the store. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
But you know, we have seen some businesses close. It's a viable business. They could have stayed open. But the owner just says, you know what, I'm out. I just don't want to do this. I don't want to run a business during a pandemic where we're opening and closing and I've got staff getting sick.
If the pandemic continues, for my business, I'm lucky because my business is kind of small. I can manage. I worry so much about the big businesses because if I don't have restaurants next to me that draw other customers, for example, Citrine or the Maille del Sol, they are bigger restaurants. If they don't do well, I'm not going to do well as well.
We don't know if suddenly there will be government orders to shut down our store, or alternatively, we will feel unsafe and want to shut down our store in order to keep our staff safe.
Some businesses have closed simply because they cannot make ends meet. With all of these shutdowns and with people not being able to use their services or shop in their store, you know, there's just a point where there's no money left to keep things going and keep paying staff.
So we all stand together either to make it or not.
If you really believe in salvaging and saving our local business community, you've got to put your money where your mouth is, and you've got to make the effort to keep your money local. Spending dollars are very, very powerful. And if you can go out to a local store and buy something rather than ordering it online or going to a big store, you know, those big box stores, if you can do it hyper local, then that's the number one thing that everybody, this whole community can do. Shop local, eat local, get your massages local, your hair done, your doctors, your dentists, your chiropractors, you know, just keep it as local as you can. So, you know, one day we're going to be on the other side of this. You know, history has told us that, and other pandemics that happened 100 years ago, you know, we're going to get to the other side of this. And I think that everybody who lives and works in Oak Park knows and values what we have here as the business community. You know, we're not like Schaumburg, where it's just big box stores with huge parking lots and things. You know, we're small independent stores that everybody loves. I know we're going to get to the other side of this. The community just really needs to come together to make sure that the businesses we've got right now, that they can survive.